Hi, I'm Draken, and this is the DrakenWerks, where we are on episode 2 on the Unorthoblocks server in Minecraft. And in this episode, we are going to experience death, more death, and just a touch more death. Okay, possibly not the best way to go for the episode. There's a lot to be done here, especially if you want to see the Empire of Draken rise. But before we can get on with too much building, one of the first things I realised I needed to do was connect up my nether portal, so I went and got some obsidian. We saw it in the last episode, I built the frame for this thing, but this episode I have then created the entranceway into our nether portal, where we're able to pick up some important resources like nether rack for building nether brick for the use in our roofs, quartz for our redstone creations, and also one other resource that was really valuable that was near to my nether portal, which is all of this soul sand that you see down here. Now, last time I did a playthrough, I really struggled to find soul sand in the nether, so I was really glad to have a portal that brought us out by a massive quantity of it. So I went and picked some up. I didn't pick it all up, I just wanted a little bit there, just to keep us going for the time being, with the intention to come back and get the rest before we did the nether reset and everything as well. So that was really handy being outside that resource. But before I could go back there, Quirky decided to come along and play a little bit of a prank on us. So he jumped out of our portal and gave us a quick whack on the back there. And when I went back through the portal, I found he had moved where the other end of the portal had been, and it was now up in the Nether Fortress, but with this amazing track system. You see, one of the things I've been complaining about for the last sort of week or so since I've been on the server, started on the server, was that it was my base that I set up. As much as I like having all the space and being plenty of space to expand into, was quite a distance away from the town and the rest of the other players. So Quirky came along, and as his prank, shall we say, he set up this railway system. I do apologise for the jumpiness on the video at this point. The OBS at this point was having a few problems and everything else. I need to check out some of the systems there. It seems to sort itself out later on, but at that point it was having a bit of a problem. But yeah, Quirky set this up. So one hell of a prank in literally giving us a transport route back to the town. So thank you, Quirky. Massively appreciated. Though, of course, it's not exactly safe because it's going through the Nether Fortress, but still, nonetheless, it gets us back over to the town here, and we're able to go and jump through to the portal and get ourselves not just to the town, but also we're closer to everyone else's builds, because most people, with a few exceptions, have built around the actual town itself. And I've got some intentions to build some stuff in the city ourselves, so I've got some ideas for games, and I probably want to open a shop up. So having this connection is handy, as well as also giving us a way to actually get over to the shops ourselves to buy stuff. But one of the other things he wanted to bring us, and the reason he set it up for us, he wanted to show us something that he had built, but to get there from town, we would need him to take the rest of the way by flying. Now, as you may have remembered, I said in the last episode, I have never used an Elytra before, so this is the first time that I ever used an Elytra. So Quirky gave us a set of wings. I know Mighty High gave us another set in the last episode, but he gave us a set of wings, and we took to the air for the first time. And I tell you what, I absolutely loved it. Just being able to soar on it. And what we're seeing here, this here is literally the first time we took to flight here. And using the replay mod, I was able to do some slow motion capture and everything else as we go around here. And we got Quirky there showing us how it's done properly as we're flying around. But I absolutely adored it, and it just felt so natural doing it, despite the fact that I've been hesitant to do it for many years and go and get a Elytra. To finally have a Elytra and flying around with it, I mean, in the week since then, I don't even know how I've lived without them to begin with. But of course, obviously, as we're flying around here, what goes up must eventually come back down again. And I realised that as we're flying around here, I'm going to have to do something, and that is I'm going to have to learn how to land as well. So it was a little bit sort of the touch and go, and I was sort of thinking, well, I'd like to stay up here forever. I mean, I could have stayed flying for ages, but it was like, no, I better learn how to land as well. And so brought it down nice and gently towards the ground here, and other than nearly knocking Quirky off the end of the building, as you see here, yeah, pretty much came down nice and safely. As people said, almost nearly a natural, I would say. I wouldn't say quite a natural, as you'll see in a minute, but this is the reason why he wanted us to learn to fly, and that's because he wanted to show us this area. And this is something that he dug out over the last sort of couple of months here using flying machines. This is the perimeter that he's been setting up and building. Now, it didn't quite dig out quite as he intended. There were some little errors that occurred in it, and it's created this wonderful looking terrain that you now see with these sort of jagged mountains and the wall in the middle. And despite the fact that it didn't quite do what he was intending on doing, he actually liked what the eventual outcome was, and we ended up with this beautiful, and I think it's fantastic. It's so full of potential, this area as well. But you end up with all these sort of things. He's keeping it, and he's going to try and build around these sort of structures he's built here. I know he's got plans to put some witch farms down here, and then maybe build some additional structures going in and out of the area, and just taking advantage of the terrain that's actually developed there. I wouldn't tell you too much about it or his full set of plans that he's got there, because Quirky just released in the last week a video talking all about this actual dig site itself. So I'll leave that linked in the comments below. So please do go down and check those out as soon as you can. But one of the things that we did have a problem with as we were running around here was that I decided I was going to try learning a little bit about how to run with Elytra, because if you've ever used Elytra, you'll know that running and jumping with the Elytra is a little different. It feels a little bit odd, and you get that sort of gliding effect. And I didn't notice the lava, so this is where we got my first hideous death here. And as soon as I dived into the lava, I then got stuck. I couldn't get back out of the lava either. So it wasn't just a case of I got stuck fell into the lava. I couldn't get back out of the lava. I was stuck in this fly mode inside the lava, and all I could see on my screen was lava, and so that resulted in a death that lost me all the diamond armor that I got gifted, the Elytra that I just been gifted by Quirky. It was just such a shame. And then to top it all off, a day later this happens. We have I was going back on the rail system that Quirky built for us, and 5 wither skeletons were sitting there waiting along with a blaze for us, and just killed us and dropped us straight down. So that was unfortunately the first 2 deaths and the fates that we had with that, but that rail system still works and applies to the day. But at this point now, I think it's time we started acting a bit like Tony Stark in Iron Man, and going out and just ripping out walls and floors in our base that we started building last week to put in a load of functional devices. So I'm going to sit back for a second and let you guys enjoy the time lapse as we go forward and build all that structure. working on the roof that we saw in that last part of the time lapse there, I noticed this really odd little phenomena. So we have a snowstorm around us, but can you just see there was that little patch of rain that was coming down in the centre there. And also, this was also the point that we also experienced our third and final death of this bit. An old foe of mine, while building up at heights without an elytra, I slipped, I fell, and unfortunately I plummeted to my death. If everyone remembers my old live streams, I used to have a fall counter on there because that used to happen so often. It was unbelievable. But it was a particularly painful one, this one, because when it killed me, I had just taken up the bed that I had last slept in, which meant that I had no respawn point. So it sent me all the way back to spawn with nothing to get me back easily to where my base was. So I jumped into the portal by spawn, and I didn't quite know the way there, so I had to sort of explore around a bit. Eventually found my way to where the town portals were. Had a quick check in the chest there to see if there was any minecarts, but there was no minecarts or anything else that I could have borrowed for a second. So I ended up having to run the length of the rail system that Quirky had put in to get back to my portal, which thankfully this existed so I could follow it to get him back. But I had no armor, no weapons, and I'm running through the nether. And on top of that, I then accidentally hit the lava here, which by the time I managed to get the flames to come out, then meant that I was down to just 1 heart. And with my hunger going down with no food, I was getting a bit worried about whether I would make it or not back to my base, especially at this point where we got killed by the weather skeletons before, but I did finally make it back, which was absolutely fantastic. This is where we're up to with the base so far. So this is the starter base. Obviously we're going to build the main base behind, as we mentioned in the last episode. We've got a few of the roofs on here. We've got the main door actually is in place here as well. I'm not so happy about the shape of the archway over there. I think I might do a little bit more work in the future on the archway for that main door coming through here, and hopefully make that look a little bit better. But we have the mine there, which is now labelled up as mine and not yours. A bit of an old Blackadder reference there. And we go down, and I built just beneath here a new furnace array here on the left here, opposite the mine. And this is where we can pop a load of items, and it will drop all the smelted items into this chest at the end here. If there's any items that we smelted that we don't want, we can actually put it into a disposal system at a flick of a switch. We can also lock the furnaces so that we can get the XP out of it, so it acts like a mini XP farm as well. And the other great thing about this is that we can have it accept either items, or we can put it into cactus input mode, so when we're not smelting items that we need for ourselves, like iron and everything else like that, we can instead have it being fed by a cactus farm that we built just behind here. Now you may have seen on the time lapse there that I marked up the actual building this a couple of times. It's now set up correctly. I put the fence posts in the wrong place and I put the heights all wrong, but I got it all corrected and sorted in the end. But we have a load of redstone at the back here that powers it all and fuels it all, along with some water streams. And we have this bamboo farm here as well, where there is bamboo that is feeding all the furnaces there, so that we've got constant fuel going in there. We can top up the fuel if necessary, but the bamboo farms that we have built here seems to be doing enough. And this is based on a design by Avamance. I'll drop a link to the tutorial in the bottom there. It's not quite the same where it deposits off, because it deposits off into an upwards facing water stream, but otherwise the farms are pretty much the same. Coming out from the furnace array here, we then go over to what is going to be our chest room. So I was starting to build up a bit of a chest monster as I was going through that. I had chests all over the place. I had a little room that I stashed away with a couple of chests where I just dumped everything into it, plus a couple more chests elsewhere around the base as well that I was starting to dump things into. So I thought it was about time we organised it here. Now it's not an automatic, there's no automatic sorting on these sort of systems here. I've had a go at trying to build those things in the past, and they just never really worked for me properly. You know, they start working and then they start missing items and it becomes a problem. And we have a disposal unit here as well, just to quickly demonstrate that as well there. So I've always gone back to, even when I've had automate systems, using manual ones, so I've kept this as a manual system this time as well. This here is our pumpkin factory, pumpkin pie factory, and the pumpkin and melon farm that we have down here is a design that was built by Mango, and it efficiently produces loads of melons and pumpkins for us, which we can then combine with eggs dropped from chickens there in a little farm up there, and also a sugarcane farm that we have there based on a Tango Tech design. I'll link the tutorials for both those types of farms in the description below as well. I combine them all together so they drop all of their items into that single chest, which gives us all the items we need to make pumpkin pie. Plus we get a load of melons and we get a load of other surplus materials out of it as well. And because we get all those surplus materials, as well as being able to build ourselves some food, which is really essential when you're early on in the game to get yourself a good food source, we can put all the excess organic stuff into this bit here we got here. This is a little sorter for a composter, and it will turn it into bone meal for us, which is a great little fertilizer for other stuff. This here is our cocoa bean farm that I quickly built. We press the button here and it pushes, little pistons push all the logs up and then push them back down again, which breaks all the seed pods that are on the jungle logs there, and then they all drop down into the hoppers, which we can then get the seeds back, pop back in, and then we can just put them all back up on the jungle logs ready to start regrowing again then. And they never seem to take too long to actually mature properly before we can harvest it again. Underneath the cocoa bean farm, I also built this. Is a bit of over-engineered farm really, because it's a bit more than what we necessarily need. But essentially we can put bone meal in here and activate a lever, and it'll automatically then start harvesting up these sort of the 2 high plants. So we've got various different 2 high plants there, and once it's created more of them, we have a minecart here that comes and drops them all off into a chest here for us. Quite nice and simple. On the other side of the base then we have a sheep farm. So this here is the breeder. So we have 6 sheep here sitting on top of a couple of fence posts. When we chuck wheat into there, the sheep use it to breed, and the lambs drop through the gaps in between the fence posts and into the water stream here, and then we wait for them to grow up into adults. Once they grow into adults, we can put them over here into a farm like this one, which is our sheep shearing farm. So we're able to shear a load of wool, and actually the output, I'm really surprised at the output on this. It produces so much wool. This would have been so handy in my last Let's Play series. And as you can see, we've got 3 different colours there. We've got the white, the green and the red, and the reason we have those 3, if you saw our last Let's Play, is for a very particular reason, and it's this. That means if we're going to have the Empire Draken rise on this server, and we're going to start building all sorts of ships and airships and various different fortifications and medieval towns and all sorts of stuff, we need a flag to declare our empire. So it was time to bring in the DrakenWerks flag into the game itself, and we were able to have that flying proudly from the top of our starter base there. So that is where we're up to in episode 2. In episode 3 next, I'm thinking we're going to have to deal with some villagers, try and get some villagers into place. I'm going to need to get myself a little iron farm sorted out and a trading hall. So we're going to start having a look at doing some of those things ready for the next episode. But in the meantime, we've done quite a bit on this. There's quite a few farms that we've already built. We've given ourselves a good head start into the game here. Very much appreciated here, and just appreciate being able to see this. I am Draken. This is the DrakenWerks. Thank you very much for coming and watching the episode. If you've liked it, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out the other guys on the Unorthoblocks server. We leave the links to to their servers and their video pages below. Bye. Oh, and we nearly forgot the dunce cap. You thought I forgot about that. No, we do still have it. Ish. I promise. Honestly, that is the original. Honest. Didn't lose the other one in the lava. But we're going to have to do something about that next episode as well.